Why do bad things happen to good people? Sometimes you've asked this question from yourself. I'm a good person. I help everyone. I don't hurt anyone. I can see myself as a good person. But still, why all these bad things? Why all these painful things, sufferings happen to my life? Why life always keep testing me always? Well, these questions we've asked most of the times in our life, right? Do you know how Buddha saw this? In the night of his enlightenment, the first thing that he realized was that life consists of suffering. Suffering is a part of everyone's life, right? So Buddha did not say suffering as a part of good people's life or a bad people's life. Buddha saw that suffering was universal, right? But when we face adversities in life, when we face these realities like painful situations in our life, we think that the only person who is going through this suffering, the only person that is going through this difficulty is only me. That is how everyone feels. Not to lie, sometimes I feel that. But what Buddha teaches us to see it as is to see the suffering as a universal thing. I'll tell you a story. A young mother lost her baby. But she loved her baby so much that she refused to accept her baby's death. What she did? She took her baby and ran from one village to another, one city to another, finding a doctor to cure her baby. But no one could bring a dead person back to life. Finally, she met the Buddha. The Buddha said, "Okay, I will cure your baby. But we need one medicine to do this. Can you bring it? Go and bring a handful of mustard from a family that no one has ever died." So the mother was so much happy. She thought that she could find this easily. So she ran to the village and went to the first house that she found and asked, "Do you have a handful of mustard that I can get?" Then when the householder was about to give the handful of mustard, she said, "Has anyone died in your family?" Then they said, "Oh, my uncle died last year." Then she said, "I don't want your mustard." She went to the next house and she got the same answer. Someone had died. She went to the other one. She went from one house to another and she went through the whole village. The only word that she heard was, "Someone died." Death. Then she understood, okay, death is not only for me. Death was something that I always heard in this journey. Maybe my child is dead. So she made her heart strong enough to accept her baby's death. She went back to the monastery to meet the Buddha and thanked the Buddha for curing not the baby, but her heart. What Buddha teaches us to see about life is that to see the suffering as universal. So next time when you go through a difficulty in your life, and the next time when you go through a hardship, painful feeling in life, understand that you are not all alone. There are so many people who is going through in life that's in the same situation, the suffering. Okay? Most of the time, we try to remove the suffering from life. We always wish that this suffering was not there in our life. Right? We go to sleep thinking that next day morning when we wake up, all these things will be a dream. All these problems will disappear. But the reality is, when there is suffering in life, there is suffering. So that the first thing that we need to do is that accept that there is suffering in life. So the whole point of realizing the first noble truth in Buddhism is to accept the suffering as it is, to see the suffering as it is. Only when you accept the suffering, we can cure it. We can find a remedy for it. First of all, you need to accept that there is pain and suffering in all of our lives, right? And then we can choose what to do with it. Most of the time, we spend a lot of time worrying about changing what we can't change, right? But it all depends on how you choose to react to these experiences in life. Most of the time, these painful feelings, sufferings that comes to our life are blessings in disguise, right? If we did not get difficult situations, if we did not get hardships to our life, right, challenges in our life, how can we develop a strong mindset, right? There's a saying that if you need to learn how to swim, what do you have to do? You have to jump to the pool. Somehow, you have to experience how drowning feels like. Only then you can realize that, what should I do to learn how to swim, right? In the same way, there is no use of trying to avoid or wishing and praying that suffering was not there in life, right? There's no point of wishing and praying that, please don't give me suffering. Always wish a mindset that you can face strongly to all these sufferings and painful situations in life. Whenever you get a strong mind to face any kind of challenge in your life, then you can be happy and in peace, because you're ready for anything in your life, right? So always wish a strong mindset that you can face any challenge, any difficult situation in life. So remember that not only bad things happen to good people, good things also happen to good people. And also, sometimes you may think, why all those good things happen to bad people, right? It is not always the case. Good things happen to bad people, and also bad thing happens to good people. That is the law of this world. So we all need to develop the mindset to see the suffering as a common truth to everyone, not a personal thing. So I wish you all, may all of you be able to develop a strong mindset to face any challenge in all of your life. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. So many people in this society may think that in order to live a happy life, always we should gather the things to ourselves. We should surround ourselves with comfortable things. And they may think that we should not give anything to anyone. Giving is a waste. That is how people think. And also people ask why we should give the things to others. Because others can also earn what they want. So why we should give? Well, today from this Inner Guide Q&A program, we are going to find why we should give and also what are the benefits of giving. Let's talk about why we should give, right? So giving is an act of kindness, right? Being generous is an act of kindness, right? If you have a kind heart, if you have a compassionate heart, you will tend to give more to people, right? Do you know the meaning of the compassion? Compassion means the feeling of sympathy or feeling of sad when someone is going through a hardship, right? If you have that compassionate heart, you will try to give more to this world, because world needs the human's help. Humans need humans' help. So that is why Supreme Buddha taught us that you should give. Because if you give, when you are giving something to someone, now suppose you are giving food to a person who is very hungry, suffering with hunger, right? If you give that food to that person, he will feel comfortable, right? He will overcome his hunger and he will be happy maybe for one day. But when you give that food to that person, you will feel happy, right? You will feel a mental happiness within yourself. That happiness will last long until the end of your life. Whenever you remember that act of kindness that has done by yourself, you will feel very happy about yourself. You can be proud about yourself. That happiness cannot be bought for money. Remember. And also, giving is an act that the people with stronger mindsets, stronger personalities always do. The people who are with low qualities, bad qualities will not give. Right? They are not generous. They are a bit stingy in their life. Right? They always think, if I need to be happy, I need to gather the things. I need to surround myself with pleasurable things. I should not give. Giving is a waste. That is how they think. That is why we need to practice the generosity. If you need a happiness that lasts long forever, start giving. See the joy of giving. It is very joyful and it is very enjoyable. So it is how amazing that when you see a person who is overcoming his hunger, having the food that is given by you, and when he is smiling, you feel that mental happiness, right? That is one of the greatest happy moments that we'll have in your life. So that is why you need to give always. Be a generous person. Okay, then let's talk about that what are the benefits of giving. Supreme Buddha taught us there are 5 benefits of a generous person. There are 5 benefits that can be found to a generous person. Number 1, Supreme Buddha said, he will be agreeable and he will be a nice and pleasurable person to many people. Right? When you give something to someone, they will be happy. Right? If you are a donor, if you are a generous person, always when people see yourself, they become happy. They may think, oh, this person is very generous. He's a nice person. He's a kind person. So he will be agreeable to many people. That is the first benefit. Number 2, Supreme Buddha said, good people will surround him. He will get into the association of good people. Now, if you have that quality, the generosity within you, it is the nature of this world that same things, the people will with same qualities get together. Right? If you have the generosity, the people who are with the same mindset will surround you. It goes with another way. If you have the stinginess or if you have the evil thoughts within you, the people who are with evil thoughts will surround you. Evil friends will surround you. So if you are generous, always, noble people, good people, the people with good generosity will surround you. You will get into association with good people. That is the second benefit. Third one, Supreme Buddha said, he will acquire a good reputation in this world. Remember, people are not talking about your wealth. People doesn't talk about your wealth. Only people talk about how generous you were, how kind you are. That is what they talk about. So what you have to do, you need to give. You need to be generous. If you are being generous, you will acquire a good reputation in your life. The fourth benefit is, Supreme Buddha said, his life will be virtuous. You will acquire a good personality which is fault-free and which is free from the defilements, which is free from the evil things in your life. Because you are generating more compassionate thoughts towards others. You are generating more generous thoughts to others. So the more you generate these wholesome thoughts, the more you will have a good personality within you. So if you need to become a good person, if you need to become a virtuous person, if you need to have a confident personality, what you have to do? Be generous. Number 5, the final quality. Supreme Buddha said, by being generous, one acquires lots of merits. And as the result of those merits, Supreme Buddha said, he will have a good rebirth. Most of the people are not having a good rebirth in this world. So if you need to have a good rebirth, what you have to do is be generous, give to others. Giving is something that gives you the happiness. Gathering and holding on to the pleasurable things is something that makes you suffer. So start giving and see the joy of the giving and find the ultimate happiness in your life. Namo Buddhaya, Theruvan Saranai. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome you all wonderful people and my dear sons and daughters. Today, we are going to learn about the essence of Buddhism. Now, you may be having a question. What is the essence of Buddhism? What the Buddha really teach to us? Well, the Buddha answers for this question from 3 separate verses, where you can find them in Dhammapada. In case if you are wondering what is Dhammapada, Dhammapada is a set of verses which was originally preached by the Buddha in certain occasions due to certain incidents that happened in the Buddha's time. So we have 423 verses in Dhammapada which are categorized into 26 chapters, and in the 14th chapter, which is known as the Buddha Vagga, which gives the meaning of the chapter of the Buddha preaches and Buddha teaches us about the essence of the advice of the Buddhas, or essence of the Buddhism. Now, first of all, in this video, I'm going to share with you the first verse, and also I'm going to make another 2 videos for the other 2 verses. So from this video, we're going to learn the first verse and the meaning of that verse. So before everything, I'm going to chant it for you. So listen closely, and after that we are going to learn the meaning of it. The verse goes like this. Sabba papassa akaranang kusalassa upasampada sachitta pariyodapanang etang buddhana sasanang. Okay, let's learn the meaning of that verse. Sabba papassa akaranang kusalassa upasampada. Let's take these 2 lines and learn the meaning. Sabba papassa akaranang. Buddha teaches us, avoid all evil deeds. Avoid all evil things from your life and cultivate the good or the wholesome things in your life. Now, when we think about our mind, when you just think about your mind, it's very prominent, it's very clear that we have a higher sensitivity to negative things, or they're called the evil things like anger, jealous, hatred, selfishness, laziness, ego. All those evil things are very easy to cultivate through this mind, in this mind. Is that true? Yes, that is true, right? It's very easy to get angry. It is very easy to feel jealous. It is very easy to hate someone. So Buddha says, to avoid all evil things, what you have to do, cultivate more wholesome things in your mind. For an example, If you get angry all the time, little by little, try to practice the love and kindness. Try to practice the patience in your mind. That is what Buddha says. So what you have to do to avoid evil things, you have to cultivate more good things. That is the only way that we can avoid the evil things from our mind. To avoid any kind of bad habit, the only way is to replace that bad habit with a good one. Practice something good in the time that when you are about to do an evil thing. So that is what Buddha said. To avoid all the evil things, cultivate more wholesome qualities like love and kindness, patience, tolerance, and unselfishness, compassion, dedication, courage. So when you take about these wholesome qualities, it's very hard to practice. It's very hard to have the love and kindness inside your mind for a long time. We feel angry with people. But although these things are hard and difficult to do, what we have to do is we have to practice it little by little. We will fail, we will fall, we will cry. But we should not give up. That is what Buddha said. So to avoid all the evil things and to cultivate more wholesome qualities, and also Buddha said, Sachitta Pariyodapana, to cleanse one's mind. Now Buddha taught us, when you get these evil thoughts, these are called the defilements, right? The greed, the hatred, and the ego, or which we called the delusion. These three defilements makes our mind impure. Buddha said that the normal nature, by nature, our mind is very pure and it's very bright. But when we have this incoming defilements like greed, anger, and delusion, selfishness, what happens to our mind is it becomes impure. So to make your mind pure and cleanse it, cultivate the wholesome qualities in your life. Buddha said, Etang Buddhana Sasanang. This is the advice of the Buddhas to this world. So see how peaceful advice that the Buddha gave to this world. So everyone can practice this, right? There is no religious difference. There is no any bounds or any rules to practice this. Anyone can. We all can practice this, right? So when we practice, what happens to our life? We get happiness, right? We get that self-happiness about our life. So many people out there, they don't have that ability to be happy about themselves because they are doing these evil things. These evil things bring the sadness and the suffering and the regret to our life. So easily, the Buddha said, instead of doing evil things, try to practice something wholesome, something good. So what we all have to do, regardless of any kind of religion, we have to cultivate more good deeds and good emotions and good intentions, good thoughts inside our mind. As a result, surely we will get the happiness to our life. So do good and be good. Namo Buddhaya. We all seek happiness in this world. If I ask from you, would you like to be happy in your life? What will be your answer? You will say, of course, I want to be happy in my life. I want this peaceful state. I need to be in that. That is your answer. That is the answer of all living beings. Buddha says that all living beings likes to be happy and they seek the happiness. If you really think about our life, we are in a never-ending journey of pursuing happiness. Let me tell that again. We are in a never-ending journey of pursuing happiness. That means we are pursuing happiness, we are chasing and we are seeking for happiness, but yet we have not found it. So, what is the reason for this not finding happiness? Why we don't find happiness in our life? We are seeking it, we are finding for it, but we don't find it. What is the reason? Well, the Buddha teaches us that we are finding or we are seeking this happiness from a source that the happiness does not exist. Because we are seeking happiness from external world. We are seeking happiness from these materialistic things. Well, when you seek happiness from materialistic things or external world, you get pleasure, but that is not happiness. Pleasure is something temporary and it gives you this instant gratification. But in happiness, the happiness is long-lasting and it gives you this happiness or the contentment about yourself. So that is why Buddha teaches us that you're finding the happiness from a source where the happiness does not exist. So the more you find it, the more you become frustrated. So, will we ever be able to find happiness in our life? The Buddha answers this question. He says, yes, you can find happiness in your life. How to do that? If you look closely to the first and the second verses of Dhammapada, Buddha says, if one with an impure mind speaks or acts, the suffering will follow him like a cartwheel following the ox. If with an impure mind one speaks or acts, the suffering will follow him. And in the next verse, Buddha says, if with a pure mind one speaks or acts, the happiness will follow him like a shadow following a man. So that means the happiness and the sadness entirely depends on the purity and the impurity of our mind. When our mind is pure, we can find the happiness. So, how can we gain this purity in our mind in order to find the happiness? Well, Buddha teaches us there are a lot of things that you can do to make your mind pure. So today, I'm going to share with you a few things that can give you the happiness in your life, that you can find the happiness in your life. First thing, accepting the reality of life will give you the happiness. You know, life is full of ups and downs. Sometimes you have good days, sometimes we have bad days, sometimes we have beautiful memories, sometimes we also have miserable memories. So life is not something that is going equally every day. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. When you realize this reality, you can face these situations successfully. Right? It is not always this bad experience makes us frustrated. It is our reaction towards this bad experience makes us frustrated. Whenever you get a bad experience or a bad day or a bad situation, tough situation, difficult situation, you have two choices. Either you can focus on the pain and feel miserable about that situation, or you can focus on the lesson that bad situation teaches us and learn from it and start growing your life. So, if you accept the reality of life, it is not temporary. Sometimes the people around us are not in our control. We cannot control their reactions. We cannot control their opinions. So when you realize these situations, you can face those situations successfully. That is one thing, accepting reality of the life. Number 2, Buddha said, be generous. Practicing generosity is a major practice in Buddhism. Well, in Buddhism, the generosity is known as dana. In dana, Buddha says that you have to give without any expectations. We have to give and we have to dedicate towards others without expecting anything in return. That is one thing that we have to practice. Most of the time, we like to hold on to things or gather the things towards us. That is what people think. When you gather more, when you collect more things, you will get rich and you will gain happiness. But that does not give you the happiness. It will give you the pleasure, but it is temporary. So what we have to do, Buddha says, be generous, give, help others, dedicate a part of your life on behalf of others. When you do that, when you become more generous, let's say like this, you gave some foods to a poor person, let's say like that. When you see that person is having those foods and overcoming his hunger and making his life much better, you can be happy by seeing that. When you become happy like that, you feel happy about yourself. Right? Nothing can give you that happiness. Like by eating a good food, by dressing a nice dress, you cannot gain that happiness. You don't feel happy about yourself. Right? Let's say after hundred of years later, maybe 10 decades later, when you think about that incident, I gave this food to this poor person. When you remind that, you feel happy. Even then you feel happy. That means happiness is long-lasting. So Buddha says, be generous, help people, do something nice every day for a person. That is one thing we can do. And number 3, forgiving. Forgiving is one of the most important things that we can do to create happiness in our life. We have to forgive ourselves. Also, we have to forgive others too. Because forgiving, when you forgive, it doesn't mean that you are saying okay to others' mistakes. It's okay. No, you're not saying like that. When you forgive, you make your heart free. So when you forgive, it's not for that person, it is for you. And also we have to forgive for ourselves. There are so many mistakes that we all have done in the past. If you hold on to past, and if you make this present moment miserable, that will not give you the happiness. So what do we have to do? Whatever the bad thing that we have done in the past, we have to have this ability to forgive ourselves and start all over again. We all have that ability, right? We all have that privilege to start our life again and make it a better one. Okay? So no one is perfect in this world. We all have done mistakes. One thing that we have to do is to forgive and start doing good things. So these are 5 things that we can do to create happiness in our life. And also, there is one happiness that is called the ultimate happiness in this world that the Buddha teaches us. That is called Nibbana or Nirvana. That is the enlightenment. When you realize about the reality of this life, and when you remove this desire or the craving that arises within your mind, then Buddha says that is the ultimate happiness. Simply, the Nibbana means Ragakkayo, Dosakkayo, Mohakkayo, Nibbana. That means removing of the desire, anger, and the delusion of the mind is called the enlightenment. So that is the highest level of happiness that we all can reach. So when you practice these practices, right, when you engage yourself in wholesome state, that will create you the happiness in the life. So practice these things and make your life a happier one. Namo Buddhaya. There are so many kinds of people. They live in different social states, right? We have to deal with these people when we are living our life. So there's a problem which origins inside our mind when we live with these people and that problem is we compare our life with them, right? We compare our problems and our life and our social states with other people's lives. Remember, this comparison is not the problem. This comparison can be used in many ways. People use it in many ways, right? Some people, they use this comparison to motivate themselves, right? Now, when you see athletes and the people who are doing sports, when they see the players or athletes which have more capacity and more talents than them, then they try to compare themselves with others, and what they do is they develop themselves. They motivate themselves to do more, to practice more. Right? So this comparison can be used in a good way. But many of us doesn't do that. What we do is we compare our life with others and we become frustrated with our life. Now this happens for many people who use social media. When they visit Facebook or Instagram, there are so many cases and there are so many problems that origins when you visit social media, because you see, when you visit those platforms, you see so many pictures of other people, how they live their life, how they eat, how they dress, how they go out in Sunday nights and Saturday nights. So you see such pictures. But currently, you may be not in a situation to enjoy your life. Sometimes you may be in a problem. So what you do is, you compare that life with your life and you become frustrated. You become sad. You become depressed. That is why, from researchers, it has been proved that the people who visit and who are in social media for long times, they have a higher probability of having the social stress and depression and mental stress inside. Why? That is because of this frustration due to comparison. So that is the comparison that we need to stop, right? If you compare your life with someone and if you become motivated to be and develop more inside you, then it's a good one. So, when you see the happy lives of others, right? If you compare, then you become frustrated. Remember, you cannot be someone else, right? We can only be ourselves. If you try to be someone else, that means you're wasting your life. You're wasting your valuable time that can be used to develop yourself. So the first thing that you have to know is that I cannot be someone else. I can be me. You can be the best version of yourself. That is what we need to do. So what we have to do is we need to battle with ourselves. We don't want to battle with others, right? We don't want to be competitive. We don't want to have races. We don't want to do that. What we have to do is we need to battle with our own weaknesses. We need to try hard to eliminate and destroy our own weaknesses, our own faults, our own bad habits. That is what makes our life develop. But if you compare with others' lives, and if you become frustrated, and if you do nothing, you're not developing anything. Right? So it is like running a race. Now, you all have seen athletes running races, right? So, athlete's job is to be the best person, the best athlete in his track, right? His job is to run as fast as he can in his track. But if he keep on staring on others' tracks, and if we keep thinking on what others do, he will not be successful. He will not become a successful athlete. So what he needs to do is to run as fast as he can by focusing on his own track, and then he will become a successful athlete. So life is also like that. You need to focus on your track. You need to focus on your life. How I'm going to develop my good qualities. How I'm going to develop my spirituality. How I'm going to develop my mental strength. If you focus on yourself, you see the weaknesses and strengths and opportunities that you have within yourself. Then you can have and you can develop these things inside you. Right? But if you merely comparing on other selves and staring to others' life, and if you do nothing, you will be in the same place forever. So I will give you a good suggestion that was given by our great teacher Supreme Buddha to stop this comparison. Right? That divine quality that Buddha explained that we should develop within ourselves is called mudita. What is that name? Mudita. Mudita means appreciative joyfulness. So the main aim in practicing this mind of mudita, the mind of appreciative joyfulness, is to eliminate the jealous or the envy that we build up inside by comparing our lives with others. Right? Normally when we compare, we build up the jealous inside. Right? That is what makes our life frustrated. That is what makes our mind stressed and depressed. So what we need to do is to practice mudita, or appreciative joyfulness. So how to practice it? Here's how to do it. It's a simple way. It's a simple and a practical way. You should apply these things to your practical world when you're living in your life, right? This is how to do it. Is when you see the good lives of other people, when you see the bright sides of people, what you need to do is you need to practice your mind to be happy by seeing them, to wish the well-being of their life. Right? If you can be happy by seeing their good lives, if you can be happy by enjoying others' lives, you will never be frustrated. Right? You have to be happy, and you have to say, you have to wish the well-being of others from the deepest place in your heart. Then you will build up an inner happiness, right? You are not comparing yourself with others. You become happy by seeing others' success. But still, you have the mind to develop your own qualities, to eliminate your own weaknesses, right? You can use that comparison in a good way. So that is how to practice the mudita. So, here's a simple way and a practical way to do it. Whenever you get up early in the morning, before you get down from your bed, just sit on the bed, close your eyes, And for small, maybe 5 seconds, you can think, may all the beings in this world become successful. May they enjoy their life. May they be happy forever. Wish the well-being of others. If you wish it, you will not become frustrated, right? The best thing that you have to remember is you can be yourself only. You cannot be someone else. So try to develop your own good qualities and try to eliminate your own weaknesses. Battle with yourself, right? It is you versus you. You need to always give that and be the best version of yourself, right? If you do the best thing that you can be, you should do, and if you become the best person that you can become, then you don't want to worry about other things, right? You don't want to worry about the talents and the things that you did not have in your life, because that is because you became the best person of yourself. That is what you can do. So stop comparing yourself. Develop mudita, the appreciative joyfulness, and enjoy your life, enjoy your peacefulness by developing these good qualities. Namo Buddhaya, Thiruvan Saranai.